But the UNODC report said this: organised crime has diversified, gone global and reached macroeconomic proportions. 17th of June 2010. Illicit goods are sourced from one continent, trafficked across another and marketed in a third. Cocaine ring a bell with anybody? In terms of global reach, penetration and impact, organised crime has become a threat affecting all states. The ACC estimates that organised crime costs Australia between $10 and $15 billion per year, with at least $6 billion heading offshore. And for those who may be interested, the Australian Institute of Criminology, in partnership with the ACC, is doing work to provide further metrics around that particular figure, which may very well be a significant underestimation. However, the cost of organised crime, as many in the audience would know, goes well beyond those dollar figures. Organised crime impacts on taxes and the flow-on implications of that, law enforcement costs and economic confidence. Importantly, it reaches into our communities and down to the individual personal level. It can and does ruin lives, ruins businesses, instills fear and fuels other crimes. In 1971, while giving a lecture at Cambridge University, Donald Cressy issued something of a call to arms for those wanting to tackle organised crime in the future. And he said this: we need to be able to specify what is sophisticated about organised crime, what is professional about organised crime, and what is organised about organised crime. So part of our role at the Australian Crime Commission is to do just that, but also to provide some insights into how organised crime might evolve in the future. And let me paint that picture from our perspective today. Put aside any past preconceptions you may have about traditionally defined organised criminal groups. What we face today more closely resembles the corporate world. Imagine organised crime groups that are quintessential entrepreneurs, unrestrained by any bounds of legislation, morality, or technology. Like legitimate businesses, organised crime groups thrive on the process of making money. It's their chief motivator. These entrepreneurial groups are strategic. They mine information, they scan the marketplace, identifying weaknesses and vulnerabilities, looking for new opportunities, and continuously reviewing emerging technologies to see where they can make the biggest profit. These entrepreneurial groups have drive. Once they achieve their goal, they will quickly replace it with another, and they'll strive to exert whatever influence they can over future events, even across borders. These groups are flexible. They will change direction when they see the change will improve their prospects for achieving their goals, making money. They will adapt and adjust their operations in response to law enforcement efforts to harden the environment, and we see that regularly. They will join forces with others where it suits them and can quickly regenerate in other markets. These entrepreneurial groups diversify their operations. They operate within and alongside legitimate business and spread their operations over several sectors to maximise their returns and minimise their risks. In Australia, such groups are targeting our ports and airports, the private security industry and the finance sector. Internationally, organised crime are now targeting the environmental sector. They will use logistics, planning, aggressive marketing, the buying of expertise, research and development, and risk mitigation strategies. Sound like legitimate business? For instance, drug importation syndicates often prepare their couriers by getting them to quit smoking so they don't appear nervous after a long flight, or have them bring in souvenirs so they can be directed down the quarantine line. This is what we know now, but 10 years from today, what can we expect? What will organised crime look like in the future? Will it continue to be a powerful behemoth that is still regarded as the fifth estate? There is no doubt that opportunities brought by globalisation, by communications and technology has brought and will continue to bring with it opportunities for crime that were previously unimaginable. The virtual world alone provides boundless opportunities. For instance, a recent Sydney Morning Herald article reported on the massive uptake of iPhones, particularly in the business market, where it is the third most used system in the world and is being deployed and or piloted by more than 70% of the Fortune 100 companies. Yet, IT managers are swimming against the phone's tide of popularity because they can't centralise installation and security updates as with other software. This overwhelming desire for instant services at the expense of security safeguards is something I'll return to in a moment. But aside from the potential to facilitate traditional crimes using these devices, for example by spreading spam, there is a growing criminal movement targeting such devices directly. In May this year, Italian's customs agents broke up a phony, excuse the pun, iPhone ring selling fake Chinese-made iPhones, having correctly predicted that organised crime groups would invest in such activities as a less risky way than drug trafficking to reap big revenues. In August this year, and Bill Hughes may very well be aware of this, London police arrested 9 people and seized 1,000 iPhones as they uncovered a criminal network that was using premium phone lines to launder profits and to hide identities. Just as an aside issue, I'd like to mention a fact while researching this speech, that I came across a rather disturbing mobile phone game, and it's called iMob Online. And the players are asked to name and profile, selecting one of 3 mobster classes, and then accumulate weapons and vehicles and friends to join their mob so that they can take on criminal missions and battle the other mobsters. I'm still wondering who the development consultant was for this game. So with the explosive uptake of personal communication devices, there are certainly already opportunities that appeal to organised criminals. The future will undoubtedly bring even more opportunities, particularly as the buzzword of convergence and strategists predict that so much of our information, entertainment, and even our body data, our emotions and senses, could be streamed through one individual and embedded device. What will organised crime make of that? Of course, the World Wide Web currently features a number of characteristics that also makes it particularly attractive to criminals. The web is globally connected, borderless, anonymous, relatively lacks traceability, is fast, low risk, easily accessible, has high volumes of rich data, including financial data, personal information, military information, and business information. Criminals can even use it, to paraphrase FBI Director Robert Mueller, to telecommute to work. And as high-tech crime analyst Alastair McGibbon recently observed, in the online space, absolute security is unachievable. Not only can the web help enhance organised criminals' regular activities, but it creates a space for them to extend their influence and interest in all directions. Today, such groups can exploit poorly defended computers or trick computer users into providing access to their computer to download malicious programs that spread unsolicited spam emails, harvest information, or plant viruses that attack computers or servers. In 2008, Australian businesses were surveyed on unauthorised use, damage, monitoring, attack or theft of their business information technology. Many industry players have a vested interest not to report to authorities, as it might not be in their interest for others to know the extent of their exposure. While a relatively small sample of just over 3,000 companies were surveyed, the actual results were telling. Let me share them with you. Of the surveyed group, 14% reported computer security incidents during the survey year, amounting to a financial loss estimated to be up to $650 million. Only 8% of the 3,000 reported breaches to the authorities, yet estimated the cost of e-protection for their businesses to be up to $1.95 billion. We know that a large proportion of the e-security attacks that impact on Australia are perpetrated from Eastern Europe, with Asia and West Africa also becoming emerging regions. We are also frequently seeing more fraud perpetrated against individuals through social networking sites. The phenomena of self-disclosure is fashionable, and young people often build online profiles that include such things as interests, pets, relationships, travel plans and life stories. Criminals can take such personal information to fraudulently obtain credit. There are also instances where criminals use keylogger programs to target online chat rooms and instant messaging systems to gain personal information for fraudulent use. Victims of such online fraud typically don't report it to the authorities, but rather to whichever organisation is the face of the transaction for them, such as eBay. Currently, there is no process or requirement in place for organisations to report cyber fraud to the authorities, and this means that we only have limited visibility of the nature and extent of the problem.